Everyone knows that Sam Altman has been fired, but why? I will quickly go over all the theories and tweets. I'll remove the ones that are definitely not true. We will look deeper into the most probable ones. We will go over the confirmed facts. And number 5, we will look at the future of OpenAI. Chapter 1, theories and tweets. Microsoft taking over. So they own 49% of OpenAI. And some people thought that the vibe was off, at Dev Day last week when Satya Nadella came on stage. But honestly, I think it's just two introverts being introverts. And if you think about it, like OpenAI needs Microsoft more than Microsoft needs OpenAI. So, I don't know. We'll get to that soon. Ilya Sutskever coup. So basically, Ilya Sutskever is the chief scientist of OpenAI. And this is a theory that's one of the most popular ones, that he's basically stabbed Sam Altman in the back. He is on the board of directors, which means he probably voted against Sam because the board is the one that removed Sam from the CEO position. And he's the only person at OpenAI who's both a co-founder and also a board member. So he has a lot of power. Now, why would Ilya do this? Is this a power grab? Or maybe AGI really has been achieved internally? Or maybe he's just afraid for safety. More on this later. Greg Brockman. This part is almost more interesting than the Sam Altman part. Greg Brockman was removed as the director of the board, and then he decided to leave the company, which is insane. Like 2 of the main people at OpenAI are gone, where just 24 hours ago they were at the company. Wow. Again, we'll dive into this in more detail. So, is this just another Jimmy Apple's prediction? Who knows? So, there is a sister rumor. Now, this is, very ugly. And honestly, I don't think this is true because it's more than 2 years old and nobody believes her. She has kind of a reputation of being a bit crazy. So, take this with a big grain of salt. Next up, censoring taking place around the sister. This could be just, some mistake due to the pace of OpenAI releases. So, this definitely isn't confirmed, but it's interesting that ChatGPT is censoring chats about Sam's sister. This is just a cool image of Sam leaving OpenAI, generated by DALL-E 3, I assume. Sam actually responded, so this is his first tweet, and more to come. But what can we read in between the lines? Like, can we actually get any info from this? So, I loved my time at OpenAI. It was very transformative for me personally. Like, this is just standard stuff when leaving a company or when getting fired, whatever. Most of all, I work with such talented people, so this is interesting because you want to make sure you say that if you're planning maybe starting a new company, and like if Sam does that, a lot of people will leave OpenAI. So it's good that he included that sentence. But the last sentence is definitely the most interesting. We'll have more to say about what's next later. I've seen so many different interpretations of this. Some people think it's just like, he has some plans. Some people think it's just him talking about what happened. Personally, I don't think there's any benefit of, reading too much into this. I think this is just a simple reaction to being fired. So who benefits, right? This is a super important question to ask because it might lead us to the real answer. So who benefits by Sam and Greg leaving? Well, the obvious category is competitors: Google, Anthropic, Inflection AI, xAI. But there's also a not so obvious category, which is the AI doomers, the effective altruists, the safety proponents, all the people who, hate AI improvement and want to slow it down and want to make sure that everything is centralized and controlled. And also there is the conspiracy category of like the Chinese Communist Party and Russia and all of that, which if you think about it, they do benefit, but probably not that much. This is a funny tweet. They did say AI would be taking jobs, but damn. So Palmer Luckey is the creator of Oculus, who experienced a similar kind of thing when Facebook removed him because he was supporting conservative politicians. It's kind of crazy if you think about it. But yeah, basically he said that board-run OpenAI is not going to make it. And a lot of people share that sentiment. Next up, let's look at the people that actually fired Sam. So who is on the board, right? So first tweet is this one. Ilya Sutskever, okay, makes sense. He's the chief scientist and one of the co-founders. Then we got Helen Toner. She's some policy person from DC. Not many people know her. Adam D'Angelo is the CEO of Quora. He's more well known in Silicon Valley, but still, why is he on the board of OpenAI? Because like the OpenAI could have much more, famous and important people, like easily like Eric Schmidt, Bill Gates, and stuff like that. Those could be the board members of OpenAI. So why are, like Tasha McCauley, like how many of you have actually heard of her before this? I bet not many, right? So this is the second tweet about the people that fired Sam Altman. So if you look at like, obviously like this is a bit satire, but in 2015, like the leadership team was way more impressive than it is today. Like we got Elon, we got Peter Thiel, Reid Hoffman, obviously Sam and Greg were still there. And 2023, it's like, who are these people, man? It's kind of crazy if you think about it. So another theory that's kind of crazy in my opinion is that Sam left voluntarily. So this is actually is coming mainly from the head of TED, Chris Anderson, this guy. And he thinks that Sam actually wanted to leave. And, the argument is that he owns 0% of OpenAI. So starting a new company would allow him to own more than 0%, obviously. And if he actually could take a lot of the core people away from OpenAI, then in theory, he wouldn't be losing that much. I don't think this one makes sense, and I'll tell you why later. So who will be the next CEO? This is an interesting poll. So as you can see, these are the main options. So Mira Murati, who's currently the interim CEO, 27% of people think she will be the long-term CEO. Next, we got Nat Friedman, 16%. Eric Schmidt, 10%. I'll tell you why people think. Patrick Collison, who's the CEO of Stripe, 3%. Yeah, I think there's no way. So this is, again, pure speculation. It could be someone completely different. So the Eric Schmidt tweet. Why do 10% of people think Eric Schmidt will become the CEO? Well, because he had this very strange tweet. And what's most strange about it is the timing, because he posted this like minutes after the story came out, and it seems like a very rehearsed and prepared tweet. So people feel very suspicious about it, and some even think that he might actually become the next CEO and that he knew about the coup. And the argument for that is Eric Schmidt is actually very pro-safety. He's, an AI doomer to the core. He doesn't want, decentralized open source AI. He wants everything to be closed down, slowed down, and, typical AI doomer stuff. So there is a chance that he knew about this and that he will become the next CEO. So this is a response from Sam Altman's brother, Jack Altman. So the first tweet is, to all the people gleefully hating today, please know you're betting against the wrong guy. So this is, more just hyping up his brother. Fair enough. But the second tweet is more interesting, more substantive. More important than being one of the most brilliant and impactful people our industry has ever had, W brother, Sam is one of the most generous and caring people I know. So if you just, obviously, again, more praise, but this means that it's very unlikely it's some, ugly accusation or something like that, because if that was if that was the case, he would likely want to distance himself than give him more praise. Like, you don't want to praise someone who's been accused of some really serious stuff. So this just confirms that it wasn't anything like it's not like Sam Altman is a horrible person or anything like that. Again, we still don't know. All of this is still happening in real time, so we'll see. This is a brilliant headline, one of the best headlines I've ever seen. So as you can see, Microsoft/OpenAI, Control, Altman, delete. It's like, man, peak comedy. Next up, this might actually mean the death of GPT Store. So as you know, obviously, I've been making a bunch of videos about GPTs, and a lot of people, myself included, are very excited for the GPT Store, where OpenAI will share revenue with us, the builders of GPTs. Now, this, Sam Altman being fired, might actually put an end to that. So there was some Reddit account who was saying that he's an OpenAI employee, and again, the text was like so boring and so like corporate that it actually might be true. Now, obviously, again, it's not confirmed. There is almost like nothing confirmed. We'll get to the confirmed stuff towards the end. There are facts that are confirmed, but we are just looking at all the theories. So the theory is that, you know, the GPT store kind of crossed a line, and that the values of the OpenAI mission were at risk by this. I don't know how much I believe that, but you know, I think the GPT store is definitely at risk right now. So I don't know, but I'll definitely keep building GPTs. So purely because, you know, it's just such a good learning experience to become a better prompt engineer. Next theory is the dev day disaster theory. So this is very against, you know, like I would say 95% of people think that the dev day was a success, and Jeremy Howard, who's, you know, a very successful engineer and has been in the AI community for 20 years, thinks that the dev day was actually a disaster. So let's look at his argument, right? So everyone's asking me for my take about the OpenAI stuff, so here it is. Blah, blah, blah. The first point is to make that the dev day was, in my opinion, an absolute embarrassment. Interesting. So I skipped a bunch of tweets and selected the 3 most important ones. So basically, he thinks that like that the core people who are like AI people and, you know, were in AI even before OpenAI existed and are more focused on safety, I guess he makes the argument, kind of implies it, which obviously not all people are like AI safety proponents. Not all people in AI are doomers, right? So I don't know, his wording seems kind of weird. And like, just look at this second tweet, right? Like when OpenAI was founded, I felt like it was gonna be a rough ride. And then the last part. Elon, Greg Brockman, and Sam Altman, none of who I'd ever come across at any AI machine learning conference or meetup. So, I mean, I don't know if this is just me, but this feels like very elitist. Because like, okay, sure, you've been in the AI community for a long time, but like, not everybody was, like, for example, I can just speak for myself. Like 10 years ago, I was still a child. So I couldn't be in the AI community at the same time as his. It's like, it's such elitist wording, man. It's like, I hate it so much. But yeah, his theory is basically that Sam Altman like kind of crossed the line by focusing too much on growth and disregarding like the AI like safety and like basically the OpenAI charter, the mission of the company, and focusing too much on accelerating the growth. I don't know. So, but the consensus, no matter what the theory, right? The consensus among the people is clear. Like the people stand with Sam and Greg. The amount of support they received is insane. Like it's hard to describe if you haven't been on X or Twitter. And personally, like I never want to have a job. I had only a job for 2 weeks when I was 16, a part-time job, and I quit it. And ever since then, I never worked for anybody else. But personally, even I would consider joining Sam's next startup just because of the potential and, you know, the energy that comes with it. Andrew Ng, who's a legend in the AI field, a pioneer, sends support to OpenAI. I mean, it's not really a theory, but I want to show it. So this is the big question. Will Ondrej Karpathy join Sam and Greg? Because Ondrej Karpathy is like the pinnacle of AI. Like him and Ilya, I would say, are probably equal as the top 2 AI engineers in the world. So everyone is waiting for his response to this. Will he leave OpenAI and join Sam, or will he stay on OpenAI? Because if he leaves, OpenAI is in trouble. If he stays, then OpenAI will most likely be fine. And this is an interesting tweet that there is so much happening so quickly in the last 12 hours. It's like anything is possible. Literally anything is possible. Another theory is that Ilya Sutskever got scared. So it comes from this Twitter user. So basically at November 4th, you know, at like November 2nd, there was apparently some big update or some big breakthrough at OpenAI. And then, you know, Sam like already was planning some next fundraising rounds, which made, according to this theory, which made Ilya, you know, uncomfortable because he wanted to focus on alignment and safety and whatever. And, Sam basically just started flying around the world, going to all kinds of conferences and raising even more money and talking to people from, sovereign wealth funds and all kind of that. So basically, this theory thinks that it made Ilya pissed and that he convinced other people at the company to go to the board and, basically get Sam out of the company. So we don't know, obviously, but interesting theory. But one thing is for sure, Elon Musk has to be laughing his ass off right now because, as you know, Elon Musk is one of the founders of OpenAI, and in 2018 he left the company. I actually think he was also voted off the board. He wanted to become the CEO, but I think the board didn't like that, but then he left. So it's just interesting to see that, Elon Musk, who he came up with the OpenAI name, who put in $50 million and recruited Ilya and all the core people, is out of the company. And now Sam and Greg Brockman, the two main people who built the company, are also out. So that only leaves like Ilya and Wojciech Zaremba as the remaining two co-founders, I think. But again, this benefits xAI because, it's a competitor of OpenAI. So it's interesting. The craziest part would be if Sam and Greg actually joined xAI. This is obviously very unlikely, but if that happened and if they teamed up with Elon Musk, that would be insane. So Wojciech Zaremba, as I said, is a co-founder of OpenAI. Again, he's probably, I would say, like slightly underneath Ilya and Ondrej, as he's definitely in the top 5 most important AI engineers in the world. A brilliant guy. So it's kind of a shame that more people don't know about him. But there is a theory that he was a part of the coup. Because just look at his tweet, right? So obviously the first part is kind of customary, like, oh, it's sad for me to go, Sam and Greg leaving, blah, blah, blah. Normal stuff. But the second part is interesting. Despite all of these, the mission of OpenAI is bigger than any of us. So this just basically means that I am staying, which kind of implies that he was part of the coup. Because if he wasn't, and if he really like believed what he said here, that he loves Sam and Greg and respects them, then I think he would be much more pro-leaving. Like, he would be leaning towards leaving because he would see this as a betrayal, not that like, well, the mission is bigger than any one person. Very suspicious. So those were all the theories, right? This is basically the chapter 1, going over all the theories. So chapter 2, removing the garbage theories. Trash theory number 1, sister. This is 100% not true. So many reason number one, right? So many high-profile people like Eric Schmidt, Brian Chesky, Sam Altman's brother, so many people who seem to have insider information are actively and publicly praising Sam. That would not be the case if those ugly allegations were true. Also, it's 2 years old, so like, why is it resurfacing now? Just makes no sense. And it wouldn't involve Greg Brockman, so this is absolutely bullshit theory. Next up, Sam left voluntarily. I think this is very stupid. So the OpenAI article, like if he actually left voluntarily, like why would he want the OpenAI article to say that Sam was consistently failing to be candid, which, in corporate speak translates to he lied multiple times. If he wanted to leave, he would not leave like that, saying like, oh, I'm a liar, I'm leaving. It's like, makes no sense. Next up, trash theory number 3, that some product leak happened. Now, this one is probably the most probable trash theory, I would say. So, at November 6 was the dev day. November 9, Microsoft disabled ChatGPT for their employees. Now, the reason for that was because GPTs actually had a security flaw where any user could just ask for the custom knowledge and the GPT would give it to them. It's not anything major. That's why I think it's a trash theory. Obviously it's a security concern that needs to be handled, and it makes sense that Microsoft disabled it for the employees, because if you have $1 trillion company, you don't want your employees to be uploading confidential data into a product that's not secure. So that makes sense. But is it really that big to remove Sam Altman, who built OpenAI from the ground up to a $90 billion company? Absolutely not. So I think that's why I label this as a trash theory. Next up, Microsoft did this, is also a pretty bad theory. So Sam and Greg leaving is a huge risk to Microsoft. They own 49% of the company, but you have to realize that they have, stock shareholder responsibility. They have fiduciary duty to fulfill. They want to make sure that that investment pays off. And this is the equivalent of Google losing Larry Page and Sergey Brin. So imagine being an investor into Google and those two people, those two co-founders being fired. You would not be happy. You would certainly, that would be an extremely irresponsible move as an investor, the primary investor in OpenAI. So I do not think this is the case. I would give this less than 10%, honestly. And also Satya's response was almost felt threatening to the point of OpenAI, don't do anything stupid. We have the compute. It's just this one really. It's not as bad as the first two, but I would give it less than 10%. This one I would probably give 15% at most. But again, I don't think it's the case. Another trash tip, this one I would give less than 2%. Very unlikely that Sam committed some financial fraud. Maybe, he put something on the company credit card that he wasn't supposed to. Maybe he, funneled some money into his other investments. I mean, this is very, very unlikely. Sam is a multi-billionaire, so he just doesn't have a need to do that. Everyone from Silicon Valley and, just tech in general has only good things to say about him. There is nobody that he screwed over or anything like that. ChatGPT is the fastest growing product in history. There's no need to lie about the numbers or over exaggerate the number of paying users, anything like that. So yeah, honestly, it's 0% likely that this theory is true. Trash theory number 6, this one is more fun, that Sam Altman plans to run for president. So this is a tweet from Brian Johnson, the guy who's behind Blueprint. And to be honest, I love Brian Johnson, but I think he maybe forgot to take his extra virgin olive oil before this tweet, because the reason, Sam obviously didn't know about this, and we'll get into his other tweets, but for Sam was at the, president, you have to realize, being a president is almost worse than being the CEO of OpenAI when it comes, if you really believe that AI is the most transformative and powerful technology of all time, being the CEO of the company who's at the cutting edge, who's leading the AI revolution, is not only much more exciting, but it's probably even more powerful than being the president, where you have so many restrictions and checks, and so yeah, this is honestly another less than 5%, I would give it. So now let's look at the top theories, the ones that actually have some merit to it. Ilya stabbed Sam Altman in the back. So this is a beautiful image, because if you saw the original image, then all 4 people were in there. But now it's just these two, Mira Murati, the new interim CEO, and Ilya Sutskever, the chief scientist. And on the right, obviously, Sam Altman and Greg Brockman, who were removed. Okay, so why does the Ilya theory make sense? I forgot to fill these in, but I'll just freestyle them. So, number 1. Ilya was known to be an AI safety proponent, right? He for the last few months, he worked on super alignment, which is like a project. Basically, he stopped working on GPT-5 and all the future AI models, and he started working on safety and alignment, which would mean that if Sam Altman was really making moves about GPT-5 or the future products and stuff like that, and if Ilya got scared, it makes sense with his ideology of being more towards safety than towards acceleration. Because you can think about this in 2 kind of groups, right? You got the spectrum, and on the right it's growth and acceleration, and on the left is safety and alignment and slowing down and AI doomers. So like if you think about these groups, on the left would be effective altruists, AI doomers, politicians and stuff like that, DC and stuff like that. On the right would be like EAG. I guess Sam would be probably somewhere towards the middle, probably towards the right a bit. Same with Greg, but Ilya seems to be more towards the safety side, right? So that's why this theory makes sense. It also makes sense because the board is so small that someone had to vote against him. So the likelihood of both both Sam and Greg being removed means that Ilya probably voted against them. So this gives a lot of merit to this theory. And what probably gives it the most credit, to be honest, is this excerpt from an interview where Ilya Sutskever actually said, you can call it, like people asked him if it was a coup, and he said, you can call it this way about the coup allegation, and I can understand why you choose this word, but I disagreed with this. This was the board doing its duty to the mission of the nonprofit. So what is the mission of the nonprofit? Well, the mission of the nonprofit is to develop AGI, artificial general intelligence, safely and responsibly to benefit all of humanity. That's the original OpenAI charter, the original OpenAI mission. So this supports what I said earlier, that he basically confirmed that it's about doing the mission. So if that was the case, then he thinks having Sam as the CEO and having Greg as at the company is going against the mission or has the potential to hurt the mission. So maybe this implies that he thinks Sam's decisions were risking the future of humanity. Again, this is all very philosophical and broad stuff, but this is what he said. So in terms of what confirms this theory, this is the most credible information we have so far. It's coming from some Financial Times or whatever. I don't know which article exactly, but if this really was Ilya stabbing Sam Altman in the back, it feels like a Steve Jobs type / Julius Caesar moment, where everybody knows what happened with Steve Jobs. He was ousted from the company. Then Apple was going down the hill, almost bankrupt. Then he came back and resurrected it and built Apple into what it is today. So we will see. Some people think that Sam Altman will return to OpenAI. Personally, I don't see that at all, but it's definitely a super huge moment nonetheless. Chapter 4, confirmed facts. So we were looking at theories, potential speculation. But what are the facts? What is confirmed? This is obviously the statement from the OpenAI board of directors, which is 100% confirmed. So they said he was not consistently candid in his communications with the board. Again, as I said earlier, in corporate speak, this translates to Sam was lying multiple times, which is a big thing to say. It's not some small reason, right? Obviously, we don't know what he was lying about or if this is even true. It might be just a cover-up, honestly. And it kind of feels that way because, if it was a coup by the board and by Ilya to kind of remove Sam from the company, they have to have some public reason. So they might just say something like this, which might be kind of a white lie. Maybe he wasn't clear about something that he didn't know. You can call something a lie when somebody just doesn't know and he doesn't know that he's lying. So I don't know, this feels like, if the Ilya theory is true, this probably is a cover-up. They have to have some public reason to remove Sam Altman, the guy who literally built the company from the ground up and is one of the most successful CEOs of the last decade. To remove him, they have to have some reason. So if they say he was lying, it is a reason, right? It gives them some validity for this decision. So let's look at Sam's tweets. These are his two latest tweets, as you can see, this one is 3 hours, this one is 2 hours old. As I'm saying, this is developing in real time. It's crazy, and I'm going to be covering all of this. So just stay tuned, okay? So the first tweet 3 hours ago, he said, "I love you all. Today was a weird experience in many ways, but one unexpected. One is that, oh, okay, that makes no sense. But one unexpected thing is that it has been sort of like reading your own eulogy while you're still alive. The outpouring of love is awesome. One takeaway: go tell your friends how great you think they are." So this just goes to show really how much love Sam has been getting over the last 12 hours. And yeah, I mean, it is kind of true. People are reacting almost like he died, which just goes to show like how much he did for the world and for the AI community especially. And the newer tweet is more interesting, I would say. "If I start going off, the OpenAI board should go after me for the full value of my shares." So there is so much here to unpack in this one sentence, right? So first of all, if I start going off, what does that mean? I think it means that he has some information he wants to share, but he can't or he doesn't want to, because he would he would risk being sued basically. Now, it's interesting that he mentions the value of his shares, because he also said that he has 0% of OpenAI. Now, this is very, very hard, because OpenAI is super complicated entity. There's like a non-profit arm, then there is a corporate arm, there is an LLC. So apparently he owns some shares somewhere. He probably doesn't own anything of the non-profit. I don't know. The corporate structure is super complicated. You'll see in a bit why, but yeah, this is kind of crazy, because this implies that he has something he wants to share, but he feels like he can't because lawyers would go after him. Then we have Greg tweets, which again is super confirmed because it's directly from Greg Brockman's Twitter account. So this is the first one where he basically resigned from the company. So like, this is the most important line: "But based on today's news, I quit." And this tweet is more interesting. It's the second tweet. Okay, oops. I'm gonna make it smaller. So yeah, this is the newest tweet and it gives us a lot of information. So Sam and I are shocked and saddened by what the board did today. So shocked, meaning they did not know. This is important, right? Because it completely invalidates any theory that it was planned or anything, or that Sam wanted to leave. Like, makes those theories completely invalidated. So again, this is kind of a typical stuff. We too are still trying to figure out exactly what happened. What does that mean? That means that the Ilya coup is basically confirmed, because if they don't know what happened and they are still trying to figure it out, Sam Altman and Greg Brockman, who were the two leaders of the company, if those two people still don't know what happened, then it had to be like a surprise attack, hostile takeover type situation. So let's see. Last night, Sam got a text from Ilya asking to talk at noon Friday. Sam joined a Google Meet, which is funny because they are so involved in Microsoft, which means they should be using Microsoft Teams. So it's kind of fun. People have been making memes that Satya Nadella was super pissed when he found out that Sam Altman and OpenAI uses Google Meet. But hey, I think this is just a pure distraction, but it's kind of funny that they use Google Meet. Anyway, and the whole board except Greg was there. Ilya told Sam he was being fired and that the news was going out soon. So yeah, it basically was Ilya. At 12:19 p.m., Greg got a text from Ilya asking for a quick call. At 12:23 p.m., Ilya sent a Google Meet link. Greg was told that he was being removed from the board. So it's kind of weird that he's talking about himself in third person. Maybe he's just copying it from somewhere. But Greg was vital to the company and would retain his role. So they didn't want to fire Greg completely, but they wanted to remove him from the board. But obviously then Greg Brockman left, which is a very, good move, I would say. And I actually predicted that a few hours before he left. It was an easy prediction, to be honest. But yeah. So as far as we know, the management team was made aware of this shortly after, other than Mira, who found out the night prior. So it seems like really Ilya and Mira Murati, joined forces to take over OpenAI almost. It's kind of crazy, man. It's crazy what's happening. So again, the outpouring of love, like basically Greg says the same as Sam, that he received so much support, but then he said, we will be fine. Greater things coming soon. Ooh. Man, if that doesn't make you excited, then I don't know what will. Greater things coming soon. Okay, so let's look at the corporate structure of OpenAI, which is just insane, right? So we have the board of directors, which controls the 501c public charity, which is the non-profit part of OpenAI, the original entity, which owns and controls the LLC, which controls the holding company for OpenAI non-profit employees and investors. So this is like, where Microsoft has the stake, I guess. So yeah, employees and other investors own shares in this. So this is what Microsoft owns 49% of. And then that's the majority of owner of OpenAI Global LLC. No, wait, sorry, Microsoft is here. Dude, again, like, as you can see, this is insane corporate structure. Because like all these lines, this controls this, who controls what. So, I mean, at the top of the chart is the board of directors. So at the end of the day, those are the people who have the most power, even though they don't have the most money because they don't control most of the shares. They still have the most power. And as we saw yesterday evening, they exercise that power to remove Sam Altman. So what is OpenAI's future, right? Because this is an insanely big move. So some things are for sure going to change. So is this the death of OpenAI? Well, no. Why? Because Ilya is staying. Ilya Sutskever is, the chief scientist. He's the main engineer, the main researcher. And if he's staying, it means a lot of other people are staying. As we saw earlier, Wojciech Zaremba probably is staying as well. It's very likely that he knew about the coup. At least that's my interpretation of the tweet. So if these two, juggernauts in the AI space are staying, a lot of people will stay as well, which means OpenAI will keep existing at least, and they will keep doing well probably because they have so much momentum, right? ChatGPT is still the fastest growing product in history. Like, we've heard this so many times, it's kind of hard to realize what it means, but it means a lot. Like, it's faster growing than Facebook, Google, Instagram, like any product, as you can imagine, it's the fastest growing. So it's not like everything is lost overnight because Sam and Greg aren't there. They still will have the momentum. They still have Microsoft backing. So I think the company will be fine, and they might even prosper. They might even do well, but there is no way they will do as well as they did with Sam and Greg, because just look at the track record from the last 8 years when Sam and Greg were in charge. It's an amazing track record. So this is obviously a negative thing for OpenAI as a company. The growth will inevitably slow down, and they will probably spend more time and money on research and alignment and stuff like that. But to say that OpenAI is dead, that's way too much, I think. So what is next for Sam and Greg? Prediction from Jim Fan is that they have infinite energy, which I definitely agree with. I think overall this is probably one of the best predictions I've seen. They will, like, the likelihood of them starting a new AI startup is super high, and like 90% of people, maybe even 95% of people, were in favor of Sam and Greg yesterday. Yeah, it's literally all in the last 12 hours. It's crazy, or like 14 hours, whatever. So, wow, man. If most people are with Sam and Greg, it means that any new company they start will instantly have billions of dollars worth of funding easily. I mean, Sam Altman can just self-fund it. So he can easily put $1 billion of his own money into the new startup and then get $10 billion overnight. I mean, in 48 hours easily from other people, obviously, because his connections and track record are basically unmatched. It's kind of crazy. So if we take like number one, money, which is definitely not the issue, and number two, talent, which is again not an issue because 90% of people were in favor of Sam and Greg and were supporting them. So Sam could have a super impressive startup ready by the next month. Like literally, he could start it next week, and next month he could have 100 employees, like easily. So we will see. One thing this definitely means is that open source is the way, because having some like board members who nobody knows, and like the power over the entire AI community and the entire AI revolution, which means power over the future of humanity, in the hands of some 5 people is kind of insane. So like this definitely improves the argument for open source and for decentralized AI. And just, man, I don't know. I hope that if Sam and Greg start a new company, they make it 100% open source. If that was the case, this would be like the biggest turnaround of the decade. Like this would be honestly the best thing that could happen, probably. No matter what, this is a historical moment. It's kind of one of these moments that you remember the spot where you were when that happened. And I guarantee you that even 10 years from now, we will still be talking about how insane this was. But no matter what, this is only the beginning. If you aren't subscribed, you should subscribe now, because I'll be covering this in great detail, and every hour there are some new developments about this story. So as Mr. Beast said, this is a better cliffhanger than any show I've ever watched.